What's up, guys and girls? Welcome back to another video. There's a lot of talk right now about a lot of reprints that could be coming in the near future for Pokemon TCG, and I'm just going to break it down for which sets I think are safe from being reprinted to which ones are most likely for sure going to be getting a reprint, and then I'm going to break it down whether it's a large reprint, small reprint, and so on and so forth in between. But if you're ready for that, sit back, relax, let's hop right in. So real quick, the first 5 sets of Scarlet and Violet, this is what I'm going to be breaking down for, the most recent Scarlet and Violet sets, basically still in rotation, starting with Scarlet Violet base, all the way through Paldean Fates. These 5 sets, I think, are very unlikely, like almost assuredly safe from getting reprint. I'm not saying they won't drop in price. That is not what I'm saying. I can't control the market or anything like that. But for reprints, for what Pokemon is going to be focusing on, I don't believe that any 5 of these sets will be getting any sizable reprints in any sort of way. There might be restocks. Now, I'm not saying they won't, restock or show up on your Walmart shelves. There's back inventory. There's stuff they've already printed. Things that are, appearing. We just recently got the Paldean Fate, like, Blooming Water equivalent, basically. And I think that'll kind of be the last hurrah for Paldean Fates, is this big collection box that was unfortunately exclusive to Walmart, which really stinks for the average consumer because Walmart is infested with bots. But I do think the first 5 sets, so Scarlet Violet base, Paldea Evolved, Paradox Rift, 151, Paldean Fates, am I missing one? It's 1, SV1, SV2, Obsidian Flames. Those sets are not going to see sizable reprints. The booster boxes aren't going to get reprinted. They're just too old now. They're going out of rotation literally next year, next April. They won't even be playable. Pokemon doesn't care enough to go back and reprint these ones because there's no player demand. There's no actual demand for the sets themselves. Now maybe the booster packs may appear in ancillary products. It may appear in like Pokeballs and tins like that. That can happen. That happens still with Sword and Shield stuff, and that randomly will appear in a pack or in a tin or something, even to this day. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. But those first 5 sets, I think, are almost assuredly safe. I will say 99% safe. They're not going to get any sizable reprints for the coming future, pretty much. Now, next up, the next 4 sets we have are Temporal Forces, Violet Masquerade, Shrouded Fable, and Surging Sparks. These are the next 4 sets that came out after Paldean Fates. Obviously, they came out in like 2024-ish. So these are the upcoming sets that could be getting reprinted. Obviously, chances of being reprinted for, I think, Twilight and Surging Sparks is almost like assuredly super low. They've just both got huge reprints. Surging Sparks and Twilight Masquerade ETBs have been appearing literally every single week in a restock at my local Walmart, and people don't want them, which is absolutely crazy to me because I pick one up every single time I can, just because you won't see them again in a year's time when they rotate out in 2027. People don't seem to get that. They think of only the now. That's neither here nor there. Those 2 sets in particular, Twilight and Surging, I don't expect getting huge reprints, especially their booster boxes have been reprinted pretty handedly. They've been in tons of vending machines. The Surging and Sparks ones especially have been everywhere. They might get small restocks, so very small. I would say they're like lower end. They probably won't get another huge restock because, again, they rotate out in 2027, so Pokemon will be focusing on the Mega Block and things like that. So those 2 I'm not super worried about. Temporal's an interesting one. I have heard rumors that they might be reprinting Temporal one last wave, similar to what they've done for Twilight and for Surging. So I wouldn't be shocked if that happened for Temporal, because like I said, that one rotates out in 2027, and it hasn't really got any major reprints the way that like Surging and Twilight have recently gone. They've got huge waves of reprints. So Temporal could be on the chopping block for one more reprint. I'm not super ecstatic that it's going to happen, because Temporal isn't like the craziest set in general. It doesn't have the most like hype and demand anyway, so I just don't see why they'd go back and reprint it in the first place. But it could be there. I'm not saying it's not going to be. So I think that one has like a medium risk of getting a sizable reprint. And in the current market we're in, where everything feels like it's kind of going on the downward trajectory, I feel like a crash or a reprint of that size for Temporal would be pretty devastating for the price. They're at like $280, $260 a box. Those ones would be right back down to like $200 a box, I feel like, because what's in that box that people really care about? Not a whole lot. And lastly, Shrouded Fable, I don't think this one's going to get a reprint again. There's not a whole lot of stuff in this box that warrants people actually opening it. It was the set that sat on the shelves. I know it's a specialty set, but realistically, nobody cares about the set. Nobody's going to care about the set. There's nothing in it that anybody wants. The most popular cards in it are all playable cards. People want the Fezandipity EX SIR for playability purposes because it's like an alternate art and people want to max out their deck. There's Earthen Vessel, Dark. The best card is the Persian. It had one hype at one point, and then it kind of died off pretty, like with the rest of the illustration rare hype that happened back in March, if people can remember that, which is crazy that nobody remembers that. But illustration rares were super hyped, and now they're not. Persian was one of them. It was like a $90 card. Now it's down to like 30 bucks, 40 bucks, somewhere around there, and nobody wants it. So Shroud Fable, I'm not super high on. You can get them ridiculous cheap. I think you can basically get them for MSRP if you were looking locally. I haven't really seen any restock, which is actually, kind of a good thing, I guess, if you're bullish on Shroud Fable. But restock or like reprint for Shroud Fable, I think this is super low. I'm gonna put this like on the lower end of a reprint. Fear, like, do I think it's going to be reprinted? No, I don't. Which sucks if you're like wanting the Kingdra boxes or the Greninja boxes. I don't think those are going to get reprinted anymore because those only had Shroud Fable in it. And again, like I said, I don't think Shroud Fable needs a reprint, so I don't think Pokemon's even going to touch those. So that's where I think on those four. And so that brings us to our last like 5 sets from 2025 and where I think these are going to be reprinted. First up, obviously we have Prismatic Evolutions. This one has been reprinted so many times already at this point. There's been Costco bundles, there's now Dollar General bundles, there's, Prismatic booster bundles, we got ancillary products, this and that. Prismatic has been printed so much now. The pack price is like $7 a pack, which realistically is not a bad price for like a pack of that stature, right? Like you can go get a Temporal Forces or Paradox Rift pack for $7 on TCG Player, which is absolutely astounding that Prismatic is almost the same price for that, like within $1 or $2. That's good on Pokemon. Pokemon has actually been able to bring the price down. The problem is the demand is so high that they haven't been able to bring it down to MSRP like they want. So do I think Prismatic's going to get more reprints? I actually think there's a medium-sized chance that Prismatic is going to get more reprints. Obviously, I know it rotates out in 2027, much with the other past couple sets that we just talked about. Prismatic's going to be that last one that's on the cutoff where it's going to rotate out in 2027. Not a lot of people know that. Prismatic's only going to be in rotation for 2 years, just like Paldean Fates was. People don't realize that, it was on that tail end where it rotates out in 2026. People don't realize that, so it's going to be out of rotation. Prismatic's in the exact same boat as Paldean Fates was. It was the beginning of the 2025 sets. It's going to rotate out in 2027, the beginning of the year. So it'll only have 2 full years in rotation. I think because of that, they're going to try and print it even more because it's the thing that set this whole catalyst off of like the investment sphere and people wanting to get into Prismatic. I think that Prismatic will probably see another good medium-sized reprint at some point in the next year or so, just to finish it off before they, send it out to sale like they have been with Paldean Fates. I think we'll see more of those Lucario bundles hitting stores, or at least Sam's Club and Costco. So that's what I think for Paldean Fates. Next up, obviously, we had Journey Together. This one, it's almost assuredly going to get a huge reprint. At least one. It's not a hugely popular set, but it is going to be popular enough that it will come to reprint, which for Journey Together, I think will absolutely tank the price, especially if we're in still a downward trajectory. Price of Journey Together might drop to $180. I could very realistically see that, especially if it hits like super hard and there's a ton of them available. Now, if we start seeing MSRP, I think Journey Together is going to be the set that sits at MSRP for a box. It'd be crazy to see, but I could definitely see that box, that set being the one that sits on the Pokemon Center website at for $160 a box, because it goes for $140 on the secondary market. Could be that. We'll see what happens with reprints. If it does, that would probably be the time to be buying, is when that set drops. But we'll see with that. I think there's a very high chance for that one. All the next couple, we'll get to it. But Destiny Rivals, the next one. This one, 100%, it's going to get a huge reprint. It's not even an if, and, or but. It will get a huge reprint at some point. I wouldn't be surprised if we see it in the beginning of 2026, that we see a huge reprint, sizable reprint for Destiny Rivals, especially the booster boxes. This is a $350, $400 booster box for a brand new set that is not even a year old. Pokemon isn't going to want that, especially when they're leaving money on the table from not reprinting it. We've already seen, I don't know if I think it was more of a restock than a reprint. We did see one restock of the Pokemon Center with Destiny Rivals booster boxes. That went super fast, so I'm guessing that was more just a restock than a reprint. But almost assuredly, this is the highest level of danger for getting a reprint is Destiny Rivals. Obviously, this doesn't mean it's a terrible set. It's going to crash and burn, but it will definitely drop in price. And if you believe in the set, that's when you need to be buying. Destiny Rivals is going to be one of those sets like Journey Together that rotates out in 2028. So there's going to be 3 years of reprint possibility for Destiny Rivals. Do I think it'll happen for 3 years? Probably not. But packs at least will be around for a long time. So be aware of that for Destiny Rivals stuff. Next up, obviously, we had, I believe, Black and White right after Destiny Rivals. These ones, again, high risk for reprinting. They're specialty sets. We already saw in the Pokemon Center past couple times. There's been a couple restocks of the Pokemon Center ETBs. Haven't been large restocks, but very likely we will see reprints. They've reprinted the heck out of Prismatic. I wouldn't be surprised if Costco and Sam's get bundles like that for, the double pack of like a Black Bolt ETB and a Black Bolt booster bundle for like $60. Just makes a lot of sense. Very high risk of getting reprinted in those sets. So be wary if you're investing into those. Black Bolt, I feel, can like weather the storm of a reprint better than White Flare can, just because the card's inside. But if you can find an ETB, I'm not saying go and buy them for $80, $90, but if you can find one for $60, I think it's not a bad pickup, especially for the long term. Even if there's reprints, you're kind of insulated from that because it is specially set in booster box, or there isn't a booster box, so you got ETBs. And then we obviously have the 2 mega sets. These are 100% getting reprinted, like not even if and or but, they're going to get reprinted. They're popular. Huge risk if you're investing in these. I don't think they're the best sets either. I've talked about it before. I just don't think they're all that great. The cards inside are all right. Like obviously Phantasmal has the Charizard, which is really cool, but it's not that hard to pull realistically compared to other sets. Mega Evolutions, again, has some cool cards, but is Gardevoir and Lucario gonna carry a set forever? Who knows? But those ones 100% getting reprinted. They're like already 240 a box, which realistically isn't that crazy in the current market. So I could see prices bringing those down to under $200 if they get a sizable reprint. But let me know what you guys think. That's going to be it for me today. If you could like and subscribe, help me out a ton. We're getting so close to 200 before the end of the year. So if you could like and subscribe, help me out a ton. Link is in the description for the Discord. Join that. Would love to get to talk to y'all. Appreciate y'all. Take care.